Hi, I'm Stephanie Boyle, Senior Curator for Oral Histories here at the Australian War Memorial. In 2016, I was part of a special project which saw oral histories conducted with members of 7RAR as they prepared for their deployment to Taji in Iraq. Their mission there would be to train Iraqi soldiers in their fight against Daesh, the Islamic State. I interviewed members of 7RAR in Adelaide before they deployed, while on deployment in Taji itself, and also after they came home back to Adelaide. I found while I was there spending time with 7RAR that I think not many members of the public understand very clearly what it is that our people are doing in Iraq. And I think there's also some confusion too about the difference between the fight in Iraq and the fight in Afghanistan. So our hope here at the War Memorial is that this film will help you, the viewer, and the Australian public understand a bit better the work that the ADF do and that they do so well. Hope you enjoy it as well.
The commander for the trip, Colonel Lowe, has got up and stated, we are not going to war. We're actually going over as a guest of the Iraqi government to assist in training their forces as part of a larger coalition force.
Linda, what are your feelings about Michael going, and what are you experiencing at the moment in terms of seeing him go soon?
It's not without risk, but I believe that the unit has prepared him and everyone else the best that they can for this deployment. So I'm pretty sure he's going to come home safe. We're hoping anyway.
Today marks the end of the mission-specific training for Task Group Taji 3. Deployed forces,
What will you miss while you're away?
Oh, I'm going to miss my family. My youngest daughter is only 18 months old, so she'll probably be talking when I come home.
When I found out I'd be the officer commanding one of the training teams, I was genuinely excited, and to be fair, grateful as well. What's going on in Iraq at the moment, particularly with Daesh, etc., is something that's everywhere you look in any form of media is nothing short of concerning. And to be given the opportunity to be a part of, helping Iraq, to help train Iraqis to defeat that, to help them be a part of their own solution and to assist in any way you can, it is genuinely exciting.
We're sort of that generation that everyone has either been to Afghanistan or been to Iraq previously. It's not necessarily that those theatres are different. It's now that the time is different and the mission is different from previous deployments.
Fantastic. Actions on no change, and full command seat will be on.
It's potentially been not what I thought it would be, but rewarding all the same. It's unique, and part of that was, I think, the biggest thing we had to learn was how to instruct Iraqis. So you drive as hard as you can with what they need, but you've also got to have a degree of understanding and an empathy with what they're doing. On a mission like this, on where the instruction and the relationships are so paramount, a guy like Cormac Donahue is worth his weight in gold, because he's just got a very easygoing way of getting vast amount of information that he's got. They really relate to him through that laid-back, patient style, and they really appreciate it, and they like him.
Well, the first thing I say is very different. So I guess the real difference is the relationships. The relationships you have with your counterparts. It's a little bit harder to bridge that gap when you're not actually going into a fight with them. How do we feel about sending them out the door and not going with them? Well, it's not the best feeling. There's a bond between soldiers that transcends borders. It's just part and parcel of being an Australian soldier.
That very solid, tight arm.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah? That's it.
Friday is their local day off, so they won't train every Friday. a group of the blokes from Kilo 20. They've obviously bought a rod from the local Jundi shop, and they made their fish out of targets, different sizes. There was a school of fish. They even put a thong out there. They were just having some near-beers, which is, just basically soda pop that tastes like beer, non-alcoholic. Just laughing and hanging out together just allows them to relax. So yeah, the fishing was something spontaneous to fill a bit of time, and before you know it, you got 20 blokes out there, one fishing rod, trying to catch a pretend fish in the middle of a rock driveway, and I can't imagine anything more Australian.
I guess the only way I could describe it is turn the fan forced oven on as hot as you can, and then open it up and stand in front of it for as long as you can bear it, and then that gives you an idea of the temperature, and you've got to feel it. But they're out there, and it's hard enough as it is, but they're out there, and then they're in body armour, and they've got a helmet on, and they've got their rifle at the ready, and they need to actually be doing their job at the same time, and they need to stay hydrated. But barely complained about it, and they just got on and did it.
We get up quite early and we can start our training early, so we sort of, again, we're moving around the heat of the day essentially, because most of our time's been here in summer. If you can speak to them in Arabic a little bit and make some jokes and stuff like that, they love it. And I've had a fantastic, I've had a great relationship with these guys. They're hilarious. We get along with them really well.
So we know where you're shooting.
Some guys are from Mosul, so they're essentially fighting to get their township back. Often we've had guys come up and, shaking our hands, wanting to hug us and stuff like that. And, thank you so much for teaching me this. This will mean I can survive. And all. Oh yeah, that's right. This dude is going off to war. Frontline conflict in a kinetic environment in the next week. So you sort of, it sort of brings in a reality of why you're doing it.
For me, building a relationship with the other CSMs, especially one of the CSMs in particular, and we would just sit there for half an hour, just watch the training go on, and he'd walk around with me, and just through hand gestures and face gestures, we would fix the training that was going on. And towards the end of their training, every time I seen him, like it was, the conversation would turn towards their upcoming theatre of war, which was up in Mosul. So on the last day, and I really wanted a photo with him, like the final day's photo. So we made sure we caught up, and I didn't have an interpreter, and I just stood there with him, and he sort of put his hand on my arm, and he turned around and he swept his arm across the soldiers who were sitting in a training area. He went, "Mosul, all my men." And it was just like, and you can see he just felt a connection with his blokes. He knew what he was going to do, and he knew the possibility of not all of them returning.
You've got to have skin in the game no matter what you do. Unless you're invested into the point where you're feeling every success and every failure they have. So the guys you initially saw, they were meant to come back for more training. They then got re-diverted straight to Mosul. And unfortunately, one of the COs was killed within the first couple of weeks that he got up to Mosul. And one of the guys from Baghdad Fighting School, actually, one of the lieutenant colonels, was appointed to replace him. Which was, it was sad, but it's probably it's the reality of what they're doing, though. There was frustration amongst some of the guys training them that they felt, particularly where I think some of them were, like, I almost feel like I care more about your war than you do.
Majority of us, or most people, should have been quite comfortable with role that we were to play over there, but I think still maybe some people hold on to the romances of going out patrolling and getting involved themselves. But I think, yeah, it's quite obvious that the mission was a different one.
But if you take a step back and put yourself in that young Iraqi officer's or that young Iraqi soldier's mind, so they're coming to do training for 4 weeks away from their families, to then literally go after 1 day of leave to go north to fight a war which is taking significant casualties that they expect and understand is going to be bloody against what they what they're understanding to be a pretty cunning and very desperate enemy.
And obviously the heat and those sort of factors make everyone a little less patient, and then there's again language barrier and all these kind of things. So your temper definitely gets tested from time to time, and I guess so does theirs. But I mean, they were quite understanding, and yeah, the guys that were there to learn were pretty passionate about what they were doing, what they were learning. So they were quite quick to make sure that everyone was getting the most out of it, I guess. Yeah, it was interesting dynamic. Interesting.
So just as you got used to it over there, it's just just getting
undoing of it all now.
Undoing of it all, yes. And not actually saying, even this morning, one of my sergeants, they said "Shukran Habibi," which is, thank you, dear. And I was, he looked at me and goes, "Yes, I know." So there's a couple of things. So when I say hello to people, I'm still saying hello. So still putting my hand over my heart and saying
and
hello.
driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, and to have my children give me that funny look when, you go, "Shukran," and they look at you and go, "Just ignore it, move on."
And how's the little one?
Yeah, he's going well. So he's 14 months old now. So he's grown a lot. When I went away, he was kind of a blob, and now I'm coming back home to an actual little person. So, and my daughter's she's a strong-willed little ginger. So
we communicate a lot. As I said, it's just I think we got up somewhere near around 14,000 text messages.
Yeah.
So
It was 11 when I spoke to you.
yeah. So it was
We need him. That's it.
Of course.
I like to think that we succeeded with that in Taji, that we had people who were willing and able and capable of doing jobs well and truly above what was expected of them, and we had so many guys perform to such an outstanding level that it was just pleasing. But you saw that, and you saw some just amazing young men and women doing amazing jobs. Miles away from their families, never complaining, never whinging, just getting on.
We had an amazing experience in Iraq with 7RAR, who made us so very welcome and took time out from their busy lives and schedules to spend time with us, to be interviewed by me, to show us around, to tell us what they do. I'm really grateful. The War Memorial is very grateful, and I want to say a very big thank you and shout out to those members of 7RAR who made us so very welcome. I also hope that this film's provided a bit of insight into the behind the scenes of the ADF working overseas, gives us some idea of what they experience, what they do and how well they do it. I also hope this film gives you a bit of a snapshot, an idea of the much larger collection here at the War Memorial, the oral histories that we have, not only with veterans of older conflicts like World War I and World War II, but also with our current serving ADF members. Thanks.